Aloha, friends. It's Robert Stellick. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Planet Show. I know it's been a while since I posted the last show, but today's show is awesome. You don't want to miss it if you love foiling. And I also have two more interviews scheduled. I'm really excited about those. One is with Mike's Lab, Mike and Stefano. They make some of the fastest foils available. I just got one after waiting for many months for it, and I'm excited to try it and talk about it on that show. And then also I have an interview scheduled with Ken Winner, who I've been trying to get for a very long time. He's a former windsurfing world champion and the designer of the wings at Duotone. So I'm really excited to talk to him about wing design and so on. So stay tuned for those two episodes. And today's show is all about the Foil Fever Ohana, Jason Tangalin and Pono Matthews, the organizers of the Foilers of Aloha Classic event, which was held last weekend at Kalapaki Beach, which had some of the most amazing performance and conditions in any foil contest to date. So you don't want to miss it. And if you have a high-speed internet connection, you are going to want to watch it at full resolution on a big screen because the footage is amazing. But of course, you can also listen to it as a podcast on your favorite podcast app. During the interview, I only played the footage from the contest, which is kind of the first half of the interview. And then we just kept talking story for a long time. So I also included footage from our first day on Kauai, where we had two really good wing foil sessions, some really good footage from of wing foiling on Kauai in the second half, and then also the day after the contest, some surf foiling, more surf foiling at Kalapaki Beach. So I really hope you enjoy this episode of the Foilers of Aloha Classic. And without further ado, please welcome Jason and Pono from the Foil Fever Ohana. Welcome, Jason and Pono, to the Blue Planet Show. Thanks so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, no problem.
Right on. So
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
I mean, I just got back. Last weekend you guys had that awesome contest at Kalapaki Beach, and the conditions were amazing. I mean, I was just telling Jason, I think it was, probably the best foil contest yet. In terms of the performance to a whole nother level, and then the conditions and everything. Just an amazing event, and yeah, congratulations on putting together this awesome event.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then also, just the whole community that you put together, all the people that are involved in it, and the party afterwards with food and everything. And just a great experience for everybody. So, and myself and a few others from Oahu, we went over there to do the downwind race, and then unfortunately that the wind just died. Like, we had super strong wind the whole week before, and then the week of the contest it just kind of died off. So
Yeah, that's God telling us, okay, one day is good enough for
you. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, talk a little bit maybe about all the work that's involved in putting together a contest like this.
It starts with the big thing is trying to get the permits, and we can't really do anything or put anything out on social media until Pono receives the authorization from Kauai for us to get to put on a contest. But this year we tried to put out a little bit more social media than usual. We knew it was going to come to be a lot of hard work because of the first year we did it. It was a lot of hard work, but I don't know, it worked out. Making the shirts, getting all the sponsors. Initially, on our first contest, we made it where Kauai was the host. We made it where 60% of the competitors was from Kauai, their hometown, and then 40% is spread it all over the state and in California and Texas, to give the local boys there an opportunity to join. And there was a lot of them that did the first contest that wanted to just watch on this one. So it allowed me to invite a lot more from the state, which was good. And we try to invite the best of the best, and from the first contest to now, 3 years later, the progression has gone on a whole nother level that we never thought it would ever be. Because on our first one, we're like, oh, I can't wait for next year.
Yeah.
I was like, but 3 years later, it's a whole new world, that's for sure. But,
yeah. So the first one, the first inaugural event was in 2019, right? And then basically the whole pandemic came in the way, and then so you like this is really the second contest you guys are holding, and yeah, like you said, the whole the performance just went through the roof. It seemed it just like it's like crazy how exciting it was to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
But okay, so and I have a whole bunch of video. I mean, I posted that video with the highlights, and then I made a longer video for this interview that we can show it and talk about it. But we still want to make it fun to listen to as a podcast as well. But I'm going to actually just start screen sharing while we're talking, so that way you're welcome to comment on the video, or just talk about the your whatever we're talking about. But I'm just going to play this in the background. So this was the contest event side. I'm just going to play first is that video of the highlights. And can you guys see the video okay?
Yes, we can. That's JD Irons.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, just like actually let's talk a little bit about the conditions, because it like the day before and the day after it was this kind of normal small waves, and then this day was just yeah, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the day before we were all there we had the beach cleanup on Friday, so we saw some of the guys out there practicing, and we're like, oh, there's some waves, just like normal Kalapaki waves, kind of slow. I mean, me and my uncle and some of the other guys were talking, and we were like, we hope there's waves tomorrow, because we weren't too sure. Like, we never like anticipated this swell to hit. I mean, some of us were talking about it like, oh, okay, there's a big north swell, and we know Kalapaki will get it if we have that trade winds also. And then Friday, I think we were talking about how the swell is actually going to switch direction for more northeast swell. So we're like, oh, okay, we're definitely going to have waves. But the trippy part about it is when we got there like 4:30 in the morning, I believe, to kind of set up the canoe club, and then all we see is just water and boulders, big huge rocks just covering up the road, and we can hear the waves breaking over the break wall, and we're like, we look at each other and we're like, oh my goodness, it's bombing. It's got to be really good. So that I think that was the most exciting part, was just seeing that sunrise come over the mountain and just seeing the sets just roll in, and it was just definitely unbelievable for all of us. I think we never anticipated it, and I mean, it all worked out in the end. Swell all day long, good waves.
Yeah, and I mean, Kalapaki too. It's like the whole place is a little bit almost like an amphitheater, where like everyone's sitting around watching, and just the crowd, the whole, the audio from the crowd. I wish I had recorded that to put with the video, because it was just like cool to hear all the comments and the cheers and whatever, it was just an experience to everyone was super excited about the whole contest, and watching every ride, and like cheering everyone on. So that was definitely a good part of it, and a lot of good wipeouts like this one.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. So yeah,
that was like good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. So there was like a lot of kind of sick double ups, where the thing just like would drop out from underneath you, it seemed like, right?
Yeah, that's when the lower tide, huh?
So it's crazy, because the last time we had a swell like this was Hurricane Iniki.
Oh.
Like it was never this big, and we didn't anticipate how glassy it would be. but because the first contest, it was as big as this, but it wasn't glassy. It was really, really windy, very stormy. So all the really good guys got, it was very hard for them. And that's why the Kauai guys they're so used to it. They did really good on that one.
Home advantage if you know that wave, right?
Yeah, it gets tricky out there. I mean, especially with this kind of swell too, and on that low tide. I mean, it was super shallow out there. Like some of these sets when we had to duck dive, we're duck diving on dry reef, so we would get stuck on the reef trying to duck dive and just get smashed.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think Kane actually did a bottom turn, and he hit reef on one of his waves. Yeah, so it was shallow, and like no one knew it was that shallow on the inside.
Yeah. So you know, and this video I kind of put in as much as I could. I'm trying to get everybody's rides on there, like even, you know, some of the not so perfect rides and all the wipeouts and stuff like that, just so you can see a little bit how you know, it definitely was a pretty challenging, the conditions were pretty challenging. I mean, there's a lot of you know, a lot of wipeouts, the takeoff was tricky because you couldn't take off too far inside, you know, like because then it kind of backed off, and then but yeah, so you had to be in just the right place to take off. But yeah, maybe talk a little bit about the conditions and challenges.
So on the high tide, it's a little bit easier to take off at, we call this shoulders, it's called. And so in the beginning of the heat or the beginning of the contest, a lot of guys taking off on the outside. But when that low tide came in, a lot of guys, like Jack was smart. He would stay way inside, do a chip shot, and then go out and catch that one big wave. Because that's the one that everyone was looking at from the start, taking out that big bottom turn. Pono and I think JD was on the outside. Local guys was on the outside trying to paddle into it, which, you know, it helped them. But then, like, I know one of the wave that was at that 343 wave.
Dropped. Wipeout.
Right, but then what they didn't see was your drop in into that wave. That drop in into that wave was heavy. So for him to take that drop, and you can't really, I mean, yeah, the Foilers are seeing it from the judge's point, but they're not really, for some reason, they weren't looking at those type of you know, critical drop-ins. They're waiting for the second wave on seeing what it do, you know, because it's like, oh, okay, let's see what he got. And those 343 was probably the best 3 waves I've ever seen. The whole time.
That was literally one after another.
Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, have you seen Pono's drop? Because yeah, like I said, Pono and JD Irons was hanging on the outside trying to take off.
Yeah, that was more my mentality, because I mean, this is a spot I always foil, so I look for those steeper takeoffs, those more critical sections on those takeoffs. I mean, because if you stick those takeoffs, I mean, it's a lot harder to do compared to like a chip in shot. So I mean, for me, that was my mentality, was try to take off as steep as I could, and if I make it, I make it. If I don't, try again. But yeah.
Sorry, I think for some reason it's like I played the same video over and over here. Wait,
I mean, it's a great video.
I think I got the wrong one here.
This is gonna be very exciting.
I know, it's pretty dope. And I was watching it on my phone. I was like, so now I'm watching it on the big screen. I'm like, ooh, whoa, looks way more heavy.
Yeah.
I gotta plug it to my big TV.
Yeah,
that's gonna be
watch it on the TV.
So yeah, and I actually rendered it in high resolution, like 4K, I think. So it should be pretty cool to watch on a big screen too. So sorry, I had was playing just the short version, but yeah. So in this one, I kind of just tried to put as much footage as I had into it. So you know, the different riders and stuff, everybody can check it out. I was trying to turn off the volume. That's what happened. Okay. There we go. So, okay. So actually, the question that people had was about the rules, so let's go over the contest rules. Like, what were the rules for proning? What were the rules for stand-up paddling and so on? Maybe go over that a little bit.
So on our first contest, I got my cousins together, other people that helped me start the whole foiling evolution going on, and it wasn't easy because as a foiler, that foiling can go in any direction. Towards the end, I mean, we got into arguments and this and that, and well, we needed to just stick with one point. But our idea was to whatever we do in a contest is what we, as the Foil Fever guys, like to see in the real world, means of safety wise. So leash required. Our big thing is not coming in within 20 feet of another person as the other person drops in. And then obviously no dropping in and stuff like that. But those are the two main parts of it. The stand-up and everybody else had the same rules except for the stand-ups. They could use straps if they wanted to. So.
Yeah, so I mean, actually talk a little bit about that, because I know it's a little bit controversial, that the foot strap thing. So what is your reasoning behind not allowing foot straps for prone foiling?
The big reason is not a lot of guys foil straps. So it would be unfair for the straps and the strapless go against each other. So it was easier for us to have strapless, because the guys with strapless, they would have to buy a board that has straps or put on straps, and it would be a lot easier if we went the other way around. In this contest, in the beginning, I had an expression session for straps, but in the long run, we wanted to make sure that we had everybody surf at least twice. So I took out that straps expression session for that one heat. But that's the main reason.
Plus, you got to look at the scoring too. If versus one guy with straps versus another guy without straps, the whole scoring would be totally different, because if the strap guy is doing just a frontside whitewater whack compared to a guy doing a strapless whitewater whack, same thing, I would rather score the guy without straps higher points than the guy with straps, because it's a lot more critical and it's a lot harder to do without straps.
Yeah, agreed. And it's amazing that there are still so many aerial maneuvers without straps, that yeah,
I don't know who it was, but somebody did a
backflip.
Yeah, backflip, double rail grab backflip.
Right,
I saw that. I was like,
so I mean, and then Mateo was doing 360 airs, and he threw that boosting air. So it's like, not to say that you cannot do these things without straps. I mean, it's possible. Noah Flegel's doing it. Why can't we? So, but yeah, it's just because of that. Less money spent on trying to get a board with straps. I wanted to make it even for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amonias.
Yeah, and then this was the wave kind of on the right side of the bay, and there was like some beautiful barrels coming through, on that side too.
This is my favorite wave in the whole wide world for surfing. We won't say the name, but
yeah, let's keep that a secret. Yeah, right. Okay. But yeah, I mean, the waves were just unreal, like, so, and they just kept coming too. It wasn't like just like one set. It was just like, it seemed like the waves just kept coming and coming. It was pretty impressive.
Yes, because the next day we arrived and it was half the size, and there was a lot of laws. And same thing with the first contest. It was like just as big as this contest, and then the next day it went completely flat. So I don't know how or I don't know, God's giving us some good waves, and you know, some of the
I believe that.
the locals are like, they should know that every time they know that we have a contest, they should know that has waves. So they,
Yeah, guaranteed huge waves, right?
yeah. I mean, I think it's like an overall everyone. I mean, we did the beach cleanup. I mean, the camaraderie inside and outside the water, all the support that we've had. I mean, all the hard work we put into this. I mean, people flying from all over, supporting this contest, supporting the cause for, I mean, Namako Ona, women in need. I think overall, I think that is what helped us have these kind of waves. I mean, to me, it because the day before and the day after was totally different compared to our contest. So I truly believe that it was an all together, everybody coming together as a whole for this contest. So it made it happen.
Yeah, definitely the good energy brought even nature brought it together.
Definitely.
And nobody knows, but Thursday, Pono and I went out when it was going like 30, 40 miles an hour winds. We're winging, and we paid the price for that one. We were the only two guys out at Kalapaki, and we didn't have the right equipment, and it was blowing so hard that we couldn't make it back. So we ended up in the harbor.
Oh, yeah.
And walked back
around in the harbor. And I felt so bad, but then I turned around 10 minutes later and I seen Pono behind me. Is like, okay, good. I don't feel like a retard now.
So what the wind direction, is it kind of offshore there, or like, or what's the wind direction when it's trade winds?
Yeah, it's basically straight offshore. But what's so good about Kalapaki is it tells you where the swell is on the island, except for like that northwest or a straight west swell. Because when the big salt swell, it'll still break like this, except for that surf on the right hand side. So it'll tell you this bay will tell you where the salt side has waves, or the east side waves, or the northeast will have waves. This is a totally indication of the whole island. Basically, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because it seems like a fairly small entrance into that bay for it to catch so many swell directions, you know.
Right, and it's the same direction, that 40-degree direction that Kahana Bay has.
Yeah,
which is
it's like a toilet.
So every time I'm surfing, foiling at Kahana Bay, I already know that Kalapaki Bay is going up.
Because we would call each other and be like, "What, Kalapaki breaking? Yep, Kalapaki get waves. What, Kahana get waves? Yep."
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so so let's go back to the rules, because like actually Derek had some questions about that and stuff too. So like in terms of the scoring criteria, like what were the judges looking for for the points and stuff?
Pono.
Well, Danny.
Yeah, I know. It's so distracting. It's unreal.
Yeah. You're watching the video. Yeah.
The points wise was we kind of wanted to make it like the surfing, speed, power, flow, as surfing. I don't see us as a little bit. We're not. I consider ourselves the way we surf the same way, or foil the same way we surf. Few years ago, no one was doing it, and then we started to do it years ago. And like, why can't we surf it like foil it like a surfboard? And I wanted to make sure that the progression goes towards that end. And on the judging scale,
staying in
critical conditions, the type of waves. I mean, like Jack won the prone for many different reasons, but he's also caught one of the biggest waves of the day. And then so on a foil, the speed is there, so we have no comparison to surfing, but yeah, we just want to kind of judge it the same way we do surfing style.
Kind of
Okay.
stay more in that critical section, in the pocket, and instead of just staying away from all the white water and all that, we want to see you be able to kind of come back, cut back, and hit it if possible. I mean, on this day, it was, I mean, you'd be on a whole nother level if you're cracking it, white water snapped off the top on a bomb set. I mean,
Which
you're
Mateo
doing
did.
that. Mateo did do that in front of me too.
And he landed it, and that's the type of the stuff. I mean, it's just unreal. Too bad he didn't do it in the finals, but yeah, those are the type of stuff that you rarely see on a foil, and it's good to see, and that's where the progression we thought would be 3 years ago, and looking at it now, I mean, we never thought we would hit white water or doing the airs on a foil, but these guys are doing it on pretty big waves now.
And going for the barrel too.
Going for the barrel, yeah.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is these guys going for the barrel that they know is going to close out. Like Pono, and 2 waves in a row, he knows it's going to close out, but the adrenaline of the competition, and I asked him, like, when you came out, did you hear the crowd? And he was like, dude, you can totally hear the crowd. I was like, oh, because you Rob, you were out there, and oh my gosh, the crowd was just so pumped. It was unreal.
Oh yeah, it was a great atmosphere.
I could hear the crowd.
It was like almost like a live concert or something like that. Is what it felt like a little bit.
I could hear the
I mean, it's like
reaction more than I could hear you announcing.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's how loud it was, yeah.
Because I was speechless, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, there was that one where you just like kind of Pono, maybe talk about that one wave where you just like flying down the line. There was backside grabbing the rail, and then just like so fast that you just couldn't keep the foil in the water. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
that was JD.
Oh, that was JD. Sorry.
And JD irons, and that wave actually won him the wipeout of the day, because everybody was getting wipeouts, but the amount of speed that he was getting on that wave and was a big set, we had to give him that, because it was just, I felt my eardrums pop when he landed.
And that was backside too. That's even more crazy.
Yeah.
More scary.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the speed that he was flying on the wave, and then just coming to a complete stop, just hitting the water full speed. I mean,
yeah, nuts.
It's not a fun. It doesn't feel good, but it looks good to the crowd.
Yeah.
Look at his waves. So good.
Right on. Yeah. So I mean, and then originally you had planned for the Sunday to do like a downwind race, right? So where would that have been? Like, what was the planned course if there was wind? And what was the plan for the downwind race? Because that was
so primarily we wanted Hale'iwa to end it at the jetty right here in Kalapaki Bay.
Okay.
It's about I don't know, maybe a 10-12 mile stretch straight northeast, and it was looking good, but that wind started to come early Thursday, Friday, which thank God, because Saturday would have been oh my God, it would have been so heavy on if the winds came out on Saturday. It would be like out of control. But
it would have been a whole different scene.
Yeah, all the boys, I mean, the whole new thing is the winging, and everyone was really actually excited about that. But bummer that we had to not hold it, but it was a good time.
Next time,
on
I guess.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this kid Mateo was a real standout as well, like because he was doing both the stand-up division and the prone division. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is his second time doing that.
Yeah.
Same thing back in 2019. He won first in SUP and second in Pro.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing because he went like from, and there was like no break between the heats too. So he went like from the pro stand-up final straight, switched boards and just went straight into the prone final, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, it happens that way. That's the consequences of trying to enter so much divisions. You're going to have those moments where you go back to back to back. But he's not even 20, I don't believe. So, his energy level is on another level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If that was me, I would have been like, "Oh, no, thanks, I'm good."
That way.
Yeah, take
That's
over.
so.
So, yeah. So, what was I gonna ask? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The different divisions and the results. Like, are the final results posted somewhere?
Sort of. I post everything but the prone, because we lost the results.
Okay.
And I'm still searching for it. I know someone took a picture of it, but yeah, I know. I don't even have the results in front of me.
Was it double up?
No worries. But yeah, I guess some maybe I can put, maybe you can send me the results later or whatever. I can post them on this video as well. But people were asking like, what are the because you only announced the top 3 finishers or whatever. All right. But and then yeah, people were asking what about making it a 2-day event. Also the judging like is kind of, it's on the side of the bay, kind of almost facing away from the break, like because the wave breaks kind of away from the judges stand. So they're saying, is that the best location? Wouldn't it be better to have it judging from straight on or from the other side of the bay? What's your take on that?
I mean, we got those houses right there on the cliff that we could rent. That's an option. Or maybe to get a room at the Marriott. I mean, but it was so much easier accessible for us to do it at the canoe club, and people's got to realize that, like, Pono, most of this money is coming out of Pono and I's pocket. So for us to even rent a room at the Marriott is probably impossible.
Yeah,
no, and then plus, if we was to set up like on the beach or something, we would have to think about whole scaffolding on the beach, and then getting permits to do that on the beach. I mean, it's a lot of things that we would have to think about in order to try to do that. I mean, especially on this day, we weren't expecting for it to have like this much barrels to actually hold up nice and clean. I mean, a lot of them, if you were on it and you went for the barrel, you'd be able to make it out easily. That's how good and clean it was. I mean, and then plus with the canoe club, I mean, if we didn't have these kind of barrel sections and whatnot, it's a perfect spot for the judges to be on the top story, and you could actually see everything from there.
Yeah, and the judges were upstairs on the second floor too, so you had a pretty good vantage point of the waves, from the upstairs, right?
So they could see. I mean, I was up there most of the time, and we could see pretty good. The only part it was hard was in the morning time when that sun was setting directly over. We couldn't decisive the color jerseys, but that's about it.
Especially when they're pumping out, because I was up on the top for like the first 2 heats, and then guys would be pumping out, and then as soon as they turn around to just go straight down, catch a wave, like they get lost in the sun. But as soon as they reach the break, we could see their jersey colors. So we had to kind of like work that out. We're like, hey, okay, we're not judging them on watching them glide into the wave. We're only scoring them on the more critical section when the wave actually breaks. So we had to kind of figure that out first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We had 7 judges.
Yeah.
So
wow.
3 judges scoring, a head judge, and then 3 spotters. And that's one of the things we learned from the first contest, to make sure we have a spotter per judge, just to call out, because, and that's one of the reasons why we kept the 2-for-1 max per ride, because otherwise guys like Jack and Mateo would be doing 10-for-1s. And
yeah, so actually, let's talk about that a little bit. So basically the rule was you can take off on a wave, ride it, and then pump out and get a second wave, but that was it, right? You couldn't get more than 2 waves in for one score, right?
correct.
Yeah, correct.
And the reason for that is because just to make it more of an even playing field for guys that can't pump like an 18-year-old.
Yeah,
Exactly. And then, so even on a smaller day, you would see like they'll do 2-for-1s. My thought process was like, somebody like Pono can do so much turns on that one wave than they would somebody else is doing 2 waves. They're doing as much as turns, so it gave everybody that chance to score. If that makes sense, but
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that rule makes sense, because you don't want it to turn just into a pumping contest. Also, then people would probably use bigger foils, which don't perform as well on the wave and stuff like that, right? So
we're sticking to that whole performance side of foiling.
Yeah, I noticed too. Well, on the stand-up paddleboard side, like it seemed like the guys with the longer boards got the best scores, because they were able to catch the waves easier and stuff like that. It seemed like
I like Dane and Mateo, but that's a big board for Mateo.
Right.
So
he was like a downwind board, it looked like, right? The downwind.
Yeah. Because like guys like Derek looked like he was having a hard time trying to, because there's so much water moving at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Derek was on his tiny wing foil board, so it wasn't really even a stand-up paddle board. So
him and Nick
double it.
Him and Nick Bennett's always my top 2 picks, but this day, when it's bigger, on a smaller day, they would, just tear it up. But because there was so much water moving, I think that's I had a hard time. But the first 2 places, I mean, Nick Bennett took 3rd. But the first 2 places, Mateo and Daniel, they had bigger boards, so they were catching most of the waves.
Right. Yeah. So for prone foiling, Pono, talk a little bit about your equipment. What were you using, and what would you say would have been like perfect equipment for this day of foil surfing?
I was riding my Freedom Fusion board. It's like a 4.5. 17 3/4 and 28 liters, and then I was riding my foil was a Axis 799 front wing with a silly short fuselage, 325 progressive tail wing. I mean, a lot of guys were riding that more high aspect kind of wing for that speed. I know a lot of guys was running the lifts 90. Jack was riding the 90. But then we were all planning on riding those smaller wings for that speed, and we can carve. But I think the only guy in the prone division that was riding a big wing was Jake. Jakey Perks. Yeah, I mean, he rips on the big wings. I think he's the only prone foiler I know of that can rip on like a 210 go foil.
Yeah,
like a short board, and he whips that thing like it's no other. I mean, everybody else was riding those small wings. He was riding a big wing and just ripping on it. I mean, that just shows the progression in who you are as a person and what you're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, in the
I wouldn't do that.
799 axis, I have that one too for wing foiling, but it's a pretty small foil. I mean, it doesn't have much drag, but you need to kind of maintain that speed. So it's not that
Yeah.
easy to pump, right? I mean, you got to really keep up the speed, right?
Yeah, it definitely needs the speed to keep it going. But once you're in that rhythm, it's all about mainly that rhythm and the technique for your pumping style. If you can keep that, then I mean you can go for quite a while compared to like I mean for me I would rather ride a smaller wing than a big wing. I mean in any condition. I even ride over here like 1-2 foot days. I ride my small wing because I
Wow.
like it super loose, super carvy. I can almost like ride it like my surf wing as well. That's why. So
Yeah, and it's just more efficient. You have less drag, right? So it's easier to maintain the speed too, because you don't have to work as hard to go faster. It seems like, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Ooh,
So, and yeah, the two, like, what about holding it over 2 days? Have you thought about that, or I guess the plan was to have one day of surfing and one day of downwind racing kind of thing?
So we just did it one day. That's how we started it in 2019. And then 3 months later, we actually had a contest in Maui that we had to cancel 3 weeks prior because of the pandemic. So we had set up everything else for Maui. Everything was ready to go. That was scheduled for 2 days.
yeah.
We just kept it down to one day, and then this year we're like, okay, let's go ahead and add the wing race to it. But we're gonna keep the Kauai one to one day for Kalapaki. You know, few reasons. One, you know, I don't want to take away 2 days away from the local boys out there. I think
Yeah.
one day is long enough, especially on a swell like this. But so Kauai is always going to be that one day at Kalapaki, and then hopefully the next day is a race. But the Maui, if we have it in Maui, it's going to be at guardrails, and those are going to be 2 days, 2-day events. So.
Okay. And then, so yeah, so Maui, do you like actually talk a little bit about your plans for the future? Because you said that you had something planned in Tennessee next summer. Is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to do a wake foil contest in Tennessee in July, around the 14th, 15th, I believe. And I still kind of wanted to do something in Hawaii in May, whether it's at Kaka'ako or in Honolulu or guardrails on Maui.
Okay.
So that's the plan. And then back to Kauai the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Well, Kaka'ako would be cool. That's kind of our backyard. So
yeah,
but for Tennessee, like what, like a wake foiling contest, how would that work, and what would be the criteria and stuff? It's curious.
And that's kind of what we're trying to figure out. So they had like an invitee maybe about 2 months ago. Brian Grubb, them. I think it was in Orlando, I believe, and they scored it more like a wake style foiling. So we're gonna try and do that same thing, but have different divisions, whether it's strap and strapless. That's gonna be something new to us. We've been doing in the last couple of years, doing the whole traveling to the wake side of it. We did a tour like a few months ago, actually. Went from lake to lake to lake, just to see how many people are out there foiling. It's actually unreal the amount of people that's foiling, because this was it the surf wake, I believe, or waking, I should say, those are starting to go away, and now they're starting to foil a lot more. So the competitions right now, it's especially for the foil side, it's still fresh, and we always wanted to be one of the guys to actually push it out. So we did our homework, trying to travel around to different lakes to see what, one, the talent, and then two, how, what are people doing, like, the boats they use. I'm starting to learn about different type of boats, the size of the waves, how many waves are behind. It's unreal how they do it. So last year we did it at the Wake Fest, and we got invited to do the world record, how many foilers behind the wake. I think we only got 16. The Right now the record is 31 or 32, I believe, by the Tahitians. So next year, because we were from the 50th state, our number is 50. I want to try to see if I can get 50 guys behind the wake on the foil.
Wow.
The weekend before Wake Fest. And then at Wake Fest, we're going to try again. They're going to give us this past year, Wake Fest. This is the first time Wake Fest allowed any other sport in Wake Fest. And they gave us 2 runs per day, which was pretty amazing.
Wow.
The crowd here was one at Kalapaki was one thing, but they had 1,500 wake boats in the water lined up, screaming when the foilers came down, and it was such an intense experience. And next year I'll make sure the Foil Fever Ohana, we're gonna go check it out and put on our contest. My friend Brian from Flight Deck, Tennessee, he's out there and he's doing a lot of the leg work for us. We've been doing it for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now. So when I called them like the day after this contest, and I was like, okay, let's go. Let's get started working on the Tennessee contest. So we're going to put it out maybe in January, I would say, to the public. We already got a place to stay. It's just there's a lot more logistics trying to get the lake, because it's open, especially the lakes in Tennessee. You have 3 different states that goes through that lake. So you got guys from Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee that shares the same lake. So there's a lot of people on that lake.
Right.
So, but most of the, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you said like what, 150 wake boats on the lake or something like that. That sounds crazy.
Well, it was cool because they were all like tied up to each other.
Oh.
And it was like it was like the cars, they call it hockey, but it was such a huge crowd. And you get we stayed on the houseboats that was behind it. It was so intense, so intense. So hopefully on this first one that we do, we know it's not going to be as big. I don't think any foil contest that we do is going to can beat this. We said that 2019, but
yeah,
Saturday was way bigger.
I think it definitely topped our first contest.
Well, yeah, I mean, just like the waves and the performance both were just just amazing.
Right.
And I don't think anything like this has been held before, so it's kind of just really cool to be there in person and see it happen, for sure.
Oh, we're happy that you came down.
Yeah, me too. I was stoked. Like actually, one thing I wanted to mention, somebody on my video commented how was I able to get my drone to fly, because this is kind of really close to the airport, and it's not in the flight line, but it's like in this blue zone, which is kind of a restricted flight area for drones. You're not you need like authorization to fly there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first tried it, and I brought 2 drones and all my batteries and everything like that, and I couldn't get it to work. I was really frustrated because I showed up with all my stuff and then I couldn't fly. And then because I had like a DJI flight controller, and then I tried all the stuff that that it said to do, and it just kind of kept rejecting my my thing. And then I finally tried my older controller, which works with my phone. And then while I was logged into the DJI account using my older controller, maybe I didn't update it or something like that, but for some reason I was able to like self-authorize, just go through that, and then it worked, So I I was lucky to be able to fly, because it took me like an hour to figure out how to make it work. But so basically, yeah, the way I was able to make it work was like self-authorizing through my phone, being connected to the phone controller on the DJI.
Oh, Pono
So
could tell you. I mean, right there. Let me see. Right there. That's where Pono's drone is. Right in this area.
I know I can't. Oh, that was your drone, Pono? I can't.
Yeah,
I think we got pretty close a few times. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
No,
Pono's
so
drone is.
yeah,
Oh,
my drone is actually in Kalapaki.
oh, in the water.
Yeah. So I
But there
lost
was.
it like a few months ago. I
Uh-huh.
was flying it and then it automatically just went to auto landing. Like while I was out above the water flying, it
Oh
just
no.
started landing, coming down slowly and slowly, almost close to the water. And I tried to shoot it to shore on the sand, and it just barely almost reached the sand, but it landed right in the water, and it was like, oh,
Oh,
it's gone.
that's
So we spent
frustrating.
all day trying to swim for it.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
day for 2 days.
I mean, a lot of times you're just happy just to get the SD card back with the footage, right? Because the drone,
Right.
once it's in the salt water, is probably not gonna survive it anyways. But at least you can get the
Right.
footage out of it, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
for
I
sure.
actually have the footage of it landing in the water. It
Oh,
was connected to my phone, so
right,
I
right.
got the footage from that because I was recording that whole flight while it was landing.
Uh,
Yeah,
that
it was
sucks.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something to be aware of, that it's actually not an automatic thing that you can fly the drone there. So
Yeah, it
it's right.
depends on the size of your drone too. So
Yeah.
I had the Air 2S. It worked up until that day. I mean, even the
Yeah.
minis. I know Chris Christian Park. He was flying his drone, so I think he had the DJI Mini.
Yeah.
So he was able to fly it out there. So I mean, it depends on the size of drone you have.
Yeah, I guess that might be it too. But
Oh,
yeah, and then I also wanted to mention Alex Aguera from GoFoil was there with I guess he had a telephoto lens and was shooting from the beach, and he posted a video too on YouTube that couple days ago, and that one has, like, you can hear the comments from the crowd and the crowd cheering and stuff like that, which is definitely that part is kind of missing from the drone video for sure, that you don't get that.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
The the audio from the crowd was pretty cool, and then announcing.
Yeah, you get so pumped to hear the crowd going, and I was telling people the last few days, it's like if we didn't have the contest and it was just a free for all regular session, you wouldn't see guys be pulling in like that or doing the crazy stuff that they were doing Saturday. But because these guys are like pushing each other, and that's the cool thing about the foilers. It's just no matter if you're in competition or not, everyone's pushing and hollering on the side, yelling, go, go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a cool vibe, the foilers, and that's hopefully, it lasts a little bit longer. But even though, in the competition, the foilers, we're something different. We're something special, I believe.
Oh, sure.
I agree with that totally. And what do you think, like, that what's the cause of that? Like, why are foilers so much more open and kind of, yeah, like more open to sharing and just enjoying it together versus like
Well, most of these foilers are surfers, and in the lineup, if you're on a surfboard, you can sit in the water for an hour and might catch 2 waves. Where on a foil, you can sit in a corner, tiny half a foot white water, and have the time of your life and catch 2 for 1, 3 for 1, and or whatever. But when you get done, you're so tired. You're like you're resting for like 15 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I was pointing at Diamond Head, and one of the uncles, the locals, and he's at the top of the hill, and I walk up to the top, and he goes, "How come every time I see you foilers, you guys always smiling?"
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And yeah, right, Pono? I was like, well, and I told him it was because after an hour session of foiling, uh, to climb up that cliffs hill and make it, we're like, oh, our legs are so tired, and the last thing we want to do is climb up that cliff. But it's true. I mean, all the foilers you see, the positive attitude, the positive feedback from everybody. You'll never have a surfer go, "Hey, come here, let me teach you how to surf." Where foilers, um, they're welcoming. Like I want to teach you because they know the consequences of foiling. Yeah. So, we want to teach, and we do. We have free lessons. We have free demonstrations to the public that we put on once in a while for the whole safety. Because how can we tell these guys don't do this, don't do that when we're not out there actually teaching them how the right way of doing it, because it is dangerous.
Yeah. But, and even if for somebody that has a lot of experience surfing, and they think they can just jump on a foil and learn it easily because they already know how to surf, sometimes that's the most dangerous, because they're like, you
have that mentality already.
Yeah. The mentality that they don't need any advice or whatever. So,
well, true, but you can be on a 1 foot wave on a foil, and no matter what, you have to be on your toes. You start to be cocky. You got to be humble the whole time, and whether it's 20 feet or 1 feet, the same humbleness is exactly the same. Yeah, because either way, you
can end up with 20 stitches on your head if you don't know what you're doing, right? Yeah. True.
Yeah, I mean, either you'll get the stitches or you'll do it to somebody else. I mean, that's what we are trying to avoid.
I think something worth mentioning is that despite everybody like having pretty gnarly wipeouts right in the most critical section and everything,
like that one,
and the foil tumbling around your head and stuff like that, like nobody got injured, right? I mean, there was no injuries in this event, right? Or were there? Did I miss something?
There was one. Somebody grabbed the foil, I think, by his hand.
Oh,
that was it. I forget who it was, but was it Kane? Maybe, I'm not sure.
Got the hand slice open or something?
His foot.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, his foot. Was his foot? Okay.
I know he had tape on his foot.
Yeah.
Not too sure if that was the contest or whatnot, but.
Well, I saw Kane the next day. We was out foiling again at Kalapaki.
Right. So yeah, he was
not bad, but yeah. Anyways, so it looks really dangerous, but I guess if you know what you're doing and know how to avoid the foil, it can actually be relatively safe, I would say, right?
Oh, so the number one rule, and when I taught Pono how to foil when we got started and how I started, these words will always stick to my head, and I always tell the same thing to anybody who wants to learn how to foil. And foiling it's not how you foil, it's how you fall. And so when we started to learn and have the confidence in falling, hitting the whitewater, like I have full confidence on hitting the whitewater because I have full confidence on how I know how to bail, but I know how to fall. Once you start having that tendency of or not confident in falling, that's basically when you get hurt. Yeah. And you got to stay humble, of course. You're going to get hurt. It's not if, it's when.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think and the biggest tip for beginners is like, when you're surfing, sometimes like if you lose your balance and you're starting to fall off, you can kind of catch yourself and you basically try to pull off the maneuver until you hit the water. If you hit the water, then you crash. But foiling, like as soon as you lose your balance a little bit or you feel like the foil is not right underneath you, it's just time to bail out right away and not try to correct it or save yourself from falling, right?
Yeah. Right. It's a lot easier to come back to catch another wave than get hurt, wait a couple weeks, and then hopefully. Yeah. So
for sure. So let's talk a little bit about your background. Like you know, like how did you grow up and how did you get into foiling and all that? I'm curious.
Pono.
Yeah, start with Pono.
Oh, well, I pretty much grew up here on Kauai, here on Oahu a lot. Kind of was back and forth between islands. I mean, my fondest memory of learning how to surf was probably at Wailoa Beach here on Kauai, right at the river mouth. Yeah, trying to learn how to surf, and then I got into bodyboarding when I moved up to Oahu. Bodyboarded at a spot called Tangalin in Maili, and
Okay.
then yeah, and then pretty much moved back here, surf, and then I actually got started with foiling back in 2018 from this guy, my uncle. He was foiling before me, and then he came over for New Year's. Him and Uncle Cleve was like, "Hey, you need to try this." So I tried it, and I was pretty much hooked. I mean, I was watching guys foiling at Kalapaki for like quite a while before I even started, and I always was like, "Wow, that looks so cool, but looks so dangerous," or maybe that's not for me. Sorry, it was actually Uncle Kavika Carvalho. I would always see him out on his SUP foiling Kalapaki. I was like, just I think he was like one of the only ones that I actually saw like ripping on a foil so early in the game back in what 2018.
Yeah,
And
he was definitely a pioneer, right? Yeah.
yeah, for sure, he was one of the first guys. And then my uncle Jason set me up with a foil and a board, and I was pretty much hooked ever since, and still am. I mean, it's literally an addiction.
Maybe talk a little bit about your first session. Like, how was that? And like, what did you
Uh,
learn? What did you learn on your first session?
my
Well,
first session,
I,
that one foot waves are like 10-foot waves. It's scary.
so
I
that was the first day.
the first day I landed actually on the rail on my ribs.
Right.
Well,
But the second day was like 3 to 4 foot corners,
Oh yeah.
and he couldn't even catch a wave. That's how, I mean, 3 to 4 foot corners on a perfect day, it gets really double,
gnarly.
super good. And I wanted to go out there, so I took Pono, and he didn't catch one. It was kind of gnarly,
That was my
but
first battle of shame.
Yeah.
yeah, and he got humbled so bad, which was, and I got humbled as well too that day. But um, being his second day and taking him out there, that was kind of funny.
Yeah. So, so what about you, Jason? Are you from Kauai as well originally, or?
Yeah, from Kauai, I live on Oahu now. Um, this is my home break right there. Surfed it since I was 5 years old, and then um, I went back first day foiling. What my friends and my cousin then was like, oh, we need to get up or get you on foiling. I was like, okay, I'll just try. I actually waited a few months for me to try it because I knew this is one of the sport that you'll like. So that's why you don't want to do it. One, it's we already knew how expensive it was, and then how addictive it was. We kind of really knew that before we even got one on one of these. It's like it's one of those sports that you don't want to do it because of that. But
It's
once
a
I
whole
got
different
on,
feeling. That's why.
yeah. So I got it away. First place, first time was at Kalapaki Bay. Got super humbled. Flew back the next day. Went straight to Hawaiian Water Sports and bought my first set. And I was on the phone with my cousins, Khalil and Khalil Lopez. And I was asking them, what do you need? And the whole time, the whole drive, all the way to pulled into the parking lot. And he was telling me all this stuff and telling me about, you're going to get hurt, this and that. And so that's how I started. And then it just got, and then I ended up just foiling queens. After I came back, I got my gear. I learned how to foil like queens and pops and canoes.
So what
And
was
that's
what was your first foil? Like, what did you start on?
that was the first foil was John and Mudson board, the Nubby, and the Eva from Go Foil,
You love foil,
which, which it wants to fly. Those right there, that set just wants to fly. So I had no problem learning on one of those for sure.
It just doesn't want to fly too fast, right?
Not yeah. Well, compared to what these guys are running and what we are running nowadays, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
You have to. The progression, like from 2019, the progression, yes, talent and confidence on your foil, but the gear has gone three. I mean, it's so crazy the progression on the gear, the foils and the boards. I remember the boards back then. I remember one guy came out like for real, the foam at Clark Foam had says Clark Foam on it, and he basically no shape it, nothing. He didn't take a sand to it. He glassed the foam and stuck a foil underneath. I mean, it was here in Oahu, and I was laughing, but he was riding it. It was super flexy, of course, because there's like no carbon back then. It was just straight stringer. It didn't last very long, but I thought it was pretty classy. But the boards back then was just, compared to now, it's different. And then
totally. So what do you ride now? Like, what's your setup for foiling?
So my setup is a Magic 808 board made by Glenn Pang, 4.5 length, 17 and a half at 28 liters is my board. And then my foils we ride Access, like the 82 centimeter mass, and with the silly short. And I ride a little bit bigger wing now because gained a little bit weight. Well, it's like the 740, I believe, the 740 PSC and a 350 wing. Those things are so good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people ask, especially beginners, is like, what foil or what equipment should I buy? And that's one of the biggest. I wish, my cousin guys helped me, but now we have more options. Every day there's new equipment coming in, and like Honolulu, every other guy here shapes boards. So you can get boards all over now. But guys like Glenn Pang, guys from Freedom, those guys learned in the beginning the hard way, but now they learn so much, and now the progression and how solid the boards are and how light the boards are. I mean, it's unreal. Super cool.
And then a lot of times people think that the board's not that important because you're just riding the foil, but the board does make a big difference because like that, the board is what kind of gets you up on the foil, right, in the first place. So without the right board, it's hard to even get up on the foil.
Oh, for sure.
And then, like, in terms of length, like, have you gone a little bit longer? Like, it seems like for a while everybody's going as short as possible, and then now people are kind of using a little bit longer boards again. Or like, what's been your experience or progression?
No, exactly. So we all started like what, 310 Pono? 310, and wider was at 22 inches wide and like 35 liters. But now it's the length. Glenn Pang was like, "Oh, you got to go a little bit wider or longer in length." So okay, but I got to come more narrow to make up for what I kind of wanted to do. So we went all the way down to 17 inches wide, and the length we did go about, but 3-4 inches longer, and then we just started to pull in the liters, the volume on our boards. Because we noticed that you can feel the foil even more. It's way more responsive, having that tail dropped in a little bit. But it's insane. The progression of the equipment.
I mean, for wing foiling, have you guys been wing foiling at all, or are you getting into that at all, or not so much?
Oh, we've both definitely been wing foiling. I mean, I can say my uncle's hooked on wing foiling because all he talks about every time is, "Ooh, look, get wind." and it's barely even blowing. It's barely even blowing. It's like, look, what do you think?
Oh, that's the wave right there. That's the wave.
So yeah, what happened there? It looked like it's just like the bottom dropped out from underneath you. Huh?
So I told him that wave, if he had a longer fuselage, he might would have had a chance on that one. Because the shorter fuselage makes it more like a more loose on the front and back. So when you see him drops in, he's going so hard, and he was trying to correct it, and the thing just went whoop.
Yeah. But was that the double up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one was great. So on that wave, that was the finals. So as the tide was lower, dropping, I could see that the barrels was more like, it was a lot more wide open, more on the inside of the break, away from shoulders where everybody was taking off. So it was kind of forming the A-frame section more on the inside. So I was like, oh, okay, if I pump out, let me see if I can connect and get one of those. So as I'm going out and pumping it, I was like, I don't have a set here, so but I see this wave. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go for it. And as I'm pumping, I see a double up. I'm like, and I'm already behind the set. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? So in that video, there's like a split second where I kind of like, looks like I'm relaxed, but I'm like, should I go or should I not? And then in that split second, I'm like, just go for it.
Yeah, it looks like you try to drop the nose down into the way, like you try to just go straight down the face, right?
Yeah, straight down and try to correct it at the bottom of the wave, but I was like way too late. I was like, oh, crashed.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely tricky, and there's a few times where you could see like there were actually like sometimes like the guys on the wave, and then the wave right in front, like there's another wave right in front breaking, and then they're kind of like, yeah, it's like, and then doubling up or whatever. It was definitely a little bit definitely tricky, right? I mean, not just a smooth ride.
No, everybody who was out there in the waters stepped up their game. I mean, it was unreal on how much progression there was. I mean, and we were all cheering each other on. Like, when I was in my heats, I was cheering on the guys that was in my heats. I mean, cheering on the guys that was in the next heat. I mean, we were trying to push each other, and just everybody's just charging and just sending it. It was so unreal to see that like in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen that many people trying to pull into barrels on a foil board. You know, it's like every other wave, so like try to duck under the lip. And there was a few rides that people pulled off, right, fully barreled, and then coming back out of it. You know, I don't think I really got those, but definitely a few.
It looks so perfect.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah, we were actually talking about maybe renting a house on that other side of the bay.
Oh, that was the one
when you have your event, and then maybe we could have the judges sitting on the balcony there.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
And then, of course, Mother Nature's gonna provide waves again, right? I don't know. I mean, because usually the waves like break further on the inside too. It's not always breaking that far out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. I mean, it's just a beautiful setup too. And then so let's talk a little bit about the other division. So you had the Grom division. What ages were the Groms?
14 and below.
Okay. And who won that the Grom division?
Caden Pritchard from Maui.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I actually interviewed Caden for a wing foil interview. He's also a really good wing foiler.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a charger. For a little Grom, he's a charger.
Yeah.
Very cool kid.
Yeah.
And then you had
sorry, go ahead.
The women's. Glenell was my pick on that. Every time when the waves are this big, our pick is always Glenell, because she's the only one that I know that charges super hard. She's charging all the way to like, I don't know, 6-7 months pregnant. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then and we had the Kupuna League, the 60 and above, because we did that one for the people of Kauai, because a lot of uncles actually foiled at this spot, and they always just wanted to, I'm not gonna put them against somebody like Kavika Cavallo, or Mateo or whatever the case would be, but. So it was actually really good that we actually ended up having a division for them. So it was pretty good.
And Kupuna is 60 and over, right?
Yeah, 60 and over.
Okay.
Watch out, I think Uncle Kovika makes 60 next year.
Yeah, so they got to be careful.
He can enter now next year.
Yeah. Oh, the boys are down.
So there's the upstairs where the judges were sitting at, up on the top of the new Holly.
Oh, there you go.
So, and then afterwards you had a cool event, lots of cool prizes and everything, nice dinner. So that was cool too, live music, everything. So yeah, that was a great event. I have to say, you guys did a really good job, and I know it's a lot of work to do something like this. So thank you for putting it on and making it happen.
It was so cool, like especially the first competition that we've done in 2019. We put this on Pono and I went to Pono, I was like, Pono, we're doing a contest. Okay, let's do it. And out of everybody that on the staff, the Ohana, my sister, like it was my sister, my mom, my daughters, none of them foil, none of them really surf. The competition, contest wise, nobody's done it. Initially I was in the contest of 2019, and then my buddy Cleve, the head judge, is like, there's no way you can foil this contest, we're gonna need help. So after that, these guys told me I'm not allowed to foil any of our contests ever. So that's how now it was just funny because like everybody's doing this. I mean, the only guys that foil is the judges. That's the only people on the staff that actually foils, which is kind of cool. So which is amazing.
Having that support, like with our family, like we kind of volunteered them, not volunteered them, to kind of help us out with the contest, and they were all up for it. I mean, they saw our vision and they supported us from the get-go. So I mean, to have that support is like unreal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so do you think, like, I guess here on Oahu, like the foil contests are usually kind of part of other, like the Buffalo surf meet, they had like a foil division and stuff like that, but it seems like it seems like there aren't really that many real surf foiling competitions yet.
Right. Yeah, we are I believe we were the first one ever in 2019.
A full foil contest.
Yeah, because like you said, Rob, it was a part of Duke's, part of the Buffalo. So this is the first time. I think the contest I did with you, was it the pumping?
Yeah, the 100 waves contest or whatever.
The Boys to Men one, I think, was the Boys to Men contest. Yeah.
And that was awesome.
That was
that was awesome. So, you guys got this on?
Oh, you guys got.
So I was gonna play this, kind of do a separate video out of this, but this was like when we got there on Friday, the day before the event. We went straight from the airport to this spot, and it was like blowing. We're like all excited about it. Yeah, went out in the water and a good wing foiling session, and I mean, and I only brought my wing foiling gear. I didn't even bring anything else, but because I was looking forward to trying to do that downwind race,
Oh yeah. Well, glad you guys scored at Honolulu Beach.
Yeah, that was a super fun spot too.
Yeah.
Why didn't we go there?
You didn't want to. You wanted to go Kalapaki.
Oh.
Okay, but yeah, I'll probably share this another time. But get back to you guys, and but yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about foiling, and like for people that are getting into foiling, want to get better, like what are your pointers, or like what were like some breakthroughs for you, or like good tips that you can share with people, both of you?
Behind the boat in a river or a lake, getting food. I think that's the easiest and safest way to learn, and the fastest, instead of trying to take off on waves, not knowing how actual foil works. And then, yeah, like on a bigger board, bigger foil. So it'll help you get up easier and faster, instead of like a smaller setup where it's a little bit harder to get up on foil at first. I mean, once you kind of figure out how the foil will react to like your foot placement, your body weight, I mean front to back foot ratio. I mean all that you have to take into consideration in order to get the right height on foil, and then just trying to be safe on the foil. I mean, I think each time you go out every session, you gotta remember like, okay, this didn't work. Oh, okay, wait, this worked. Okay, let me try this. I mean, it's a step-by-step process. You can't just go out one session and be like, oh, I'm ripping already. I know everything about foiling, because the next session you'll get humbled really quick.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of people, they try it a couple of times and then they just give up, right? They find it too
Yeah,
challenging.
with foiling you have to be like consistent, like go every day. Because I think when I first started, I think I went 6 months straight every day, 7 days a week. I
That's
literally
pretty
went
committed.
yeah, until I got it like fully down. I think the more consistent you are, the faster you learn and the better you become at like a whole new sport. I mean, just the feeling alone gets you out there in the water, just to be up on foil and just flying. I mean, just fly straight. Just flying straight is always fun. I think that was the main goal from like the beginning. So for me, I foiled at Kalapaki. That's where I learned. And then my goal in the beginning was always try to make it to shore. Just go straight and make it to shore without getting hurt.
Yeah. What about you,
But
Jason? You
being
got some tips?
yeah,
Yeah. So once you get on foil, so I actually, when I teach people, I take them on my ski, and I have a 6'6" Blue Planet that I actually use to teach. And to me, that's one of the really good board to learn, because it's long enough, and it's a lot easier to control. They can actually stand up on the thing without lying down, going to your knees, doing all, you bypass all that part. Go to the stand up, hold the rope, and you just take off. So I always tell guys when you start to learn is, everybody just wants to fly and they want to stay up there. It's like everybody wants to be like 10 steps ahead. We need to like step back a little bit. I always tell like Pono guys, like crawl, walk, run. There's no rush. So I once you can get up on foil, I tell the people to push it all the way back down, and then go back up again, and then push it all the way back down. That way, how much pressure each leg, or are you standing in the right spot to push it down, to control, learning how to control. Once you get up to that 36 inches or whatever length your foil is, because that's when you start to get hurt and when you start to breach. So I always like, if you can start to control yourself at like 12 inches, go up, go back down, and just keep on doing that. Then by the time when you get to your 30 inches, whatever case, you have control to stay at that spot. But that's one of the other things that we like to teach too. So because there's no rush in learning how to foil. But especially nowadays, you got these 10-year-old kids learning how to foil on the very first day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I taught one kid. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is just the equipment's so much better and more dialed in, and if you have if you have like the right equipment and the right instructions, and it's possible to learn it quickly, I guess, especially for young kids that just kind of pick it up easily.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that Sam Pai used to always say, stay low and in control, right? Low and
Yeah.
in control.
So in
Oh,
control,
he'll
yeah.
still to today, if I'm coming down the line, he'll say those exact same words to me. Senpai never changes. He'll like, no matter who, how good you, and that's the thing. We talked to with Senpai is like, we don't care how good you are or how good you think you are. You're gonna get humbled or hurt somebody. So you have to stay on your toes at all time, and be focused on a foil, by you being on a longboard. But once you get up, you have to stay focused, which is amazing. I think that's why we're so addicted to this sport, because no matter how good you get, it'll still humble you on a 2 foot wave. There's just the competitor side, like the adrenaline on a 2 foot. Well, I always tell people a 2 foot wave at Pipe or at Kahana Bay feels like a 10 foot wave at Pipe. It's that adrenaline, no matter how big, I mean, it's a rush. 1 foot or no wave. If you get up, it's such a rush.
Yeah, I mean, just the high speed bottom turn, it feels like you're riding 20-foot pipe or whatever, even though it's a foot behind you, right?
Yeah, that bottom
for sure.
Heavy.
So in terms of like, if you look at talent versus practice, like what would you say for you? Is it is it talent, or is it time on the water and just practicing, or like or a combination of both?
Definitely a combination of both. You can see, so when you watch guys foil, when I see it, I was like, oh, and these guys are ripped. Like, say for example, Jack. Like I surfed with Jack before, so I know he can surf. So you can see the transition he does from longboarding, shortboarding into the foiling side. Like Pono can shortboard, I can see the transition. The guys like Derek Hamasaki. So not to say that you'll be ripping right away. For example, look at Erica. She's really good in foiling, and she doesn't surf. She doesn't have any of that. No waves. She hasn't caught anything. But now she's riding. She's towing into big waves. So that, with the dedication that you put into foiling and how focused you are, and you're setting yourself up goals, that's huge. But talent, yeah, you gotta have talent to be this different level. But not to say that, I mean, like I said, dedication and a lot of training for sure. But confidence is the biggest thing to me. Confidence by surfing and any other sport, because you can get hurt really bad. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and a lot of us have like a water sports background, like, and I think in winging too, it's really obvious where if somebody's had a windsurfing background or kiting or whatever, and they understand how a wing works, then it makes a huge difference versus someone that might be a great surfer, but they've never really used a wing or done any wind sports, So for sure,
Right.
it's a lot more challenging to learn that, Yeah. So,
but it's so funny when you say the wing side too, though. You can see the difference on the wing, on the guys who used to do the wing sports transition to foil winging, and vice the guys that surf foil and learning how to wing, because then you put them on a wave, then you'll see, he's got to be a pro foiler. And then when you put him on like the winning races they've been having in Florida or Europe and stuff like that, then you're like, that guy's a guarantee, like a kite surfer, which is amazing, because you go to Maui, most of those guys, the wind side of it turned all into wing foiling, because what I think is less equipment, but everybody's ripping, but on their own, style of foiling, whatever. But
yeah, no, totally. And yeah, like someone like Derek, yeah, you put him on a wing foiler, he's like ripping it like the wing's not even there, right? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And that's what he has a little bit advantage on guys try to do the surfing side of it. But if he did a wing race, like a short distance ring race, then he'll have, big competition for sure. But Derek,
yeah, he's
can't
getting
take
pretty
away.
good at the wing handling too and racing and all that. I mean, he's actually
Oh
a
yeah,
really good
he's
competitor in the racing too.
he's
Yeah,
he's a special species, that
yeah,
one.
yeah. So actually, yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the state of mind and like, you saying confidence is really important. And I know sometimes we all have days where everything kind of flows and you never fall and you just keep going and like everything, you can't do any wrong. And then other days when you're just like you can't even make a drop. Yeah. So are there any secrets to getting into that state of mind where you're confident and you just like Superman and you can do whatever you want?
Hmm. Kind of tricky question, and never really thought about it that way. Like, I mean, for the most part, for me, I try to keep a cool, collective mind as soon as I jump in the water because I know what I'm getting myself into right now. And especially, I mean, then you look at the waves, see how they are, and then kind of, I kind of base my session off of that, like how the waves are, and if it's just more for just cruising or actually progressive side shortboarding. I mean, all those you got to take into consideration too, and then kind of like how your day is going. I mean, there's definitely a lot of factors you got to take into consideration on how to stay in a positive mood. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I'm I'm a victim of it. I just use the water as a ocean therapy. Like if I'm having a bad day or a shitty day, I'll go jump in the water. I mean, I know a lot of people who use that as a therapy. I mean, but when it comes to foiling, you definitely want to be in a great mindset to foil because either you're gonna get hurt or you're gonna hurt somebody else. So I think foiling in general, you have to have a positive mindset, no matter if it's 1 foot or 10 foot. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what you said too about focusing on the conditions and paying attention and just like being in the moment and just not thinking about other things, is like you just have to really zone, kind of zero in on what you're doing and pay
yeah,
attention and look at where the sets are coming and look what everyone else is doing
yeah,
and just not have any distractions in your mind, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Especially because you're foiling. I mean, surfing, bodyboarding, yeah, you can kind of get away with it, but not with foiling.
Yeah. What about you, Jason? You have any special
Yeah,
tips on getting into the right frame of mind?
I don't know about getting in the right frame of mind, but you gotta, yeah, like Pono said, being in within the moment. But I can tell you what happens when you don't have a bad day, or when you do have a bad day. Just get out of the water because
Yeah,
you, the more emotional you'll get, the more fatigue you'll get, and that's when you start to get hurt. So if you're out there and not feeling it, it's like, oh, it's not my day today. Well, on a foil, you can't. You say that one time, just get out of the water. On a surfing, it's like, not my day. You can hang out all day, but we've been in instances where I'm not feeling it, but I want to be out there because the waves are good or whatever the case may be, and just nothing goes your way, and I got hurt. But and on the other side of that, where you have so much confidence in the world, my hand was huge, and I got hurt really bad on that one because my confidence was way up on another level. I couldn't do anything wrong, and I got knocked out at Baby Queens a
Oh,
few years ago, and same thing happened when I went to the Big Island. It was like 6 to 8 feet, and I got all the confidence in the world. And I don't know, my jet ski guy, they helped me out, Chad Klima.
wow. Yeah. So I guess you can be too confident as well. Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So that's why staying humble is a key on the foil, whether it's half a foot, 20 feet. Um, just got to keep that focus because, yes, 10 feet, above anything above 5 feet, um, you're focused, but you start to lose focus when it starts to get smaller, half a foot, 1 foot. And most of the time that's when everybody gets hurt, when it's actually smaller, not so much bigger. Because
Right.
on the bigger sets, you're so much way more focused than you would on a 1 foot wave. You
Yeah.
just forget you have all that confidence building, but you forget that you got a couple machetes underneath your foil, underneath your board that's spinning around too. So, but yeah, it's got to stay safe out there. Because I think the 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 few of the biggest accidents that we've seen was actually guys trying to dunk under the wave, and not so much um, riding the wave that I've seen so far. Um,
Because they
pretty
lose
bad.
the board and then the foil's coming around at you and stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because remember back in the day, still our because of the volume, right? Our boards are bigger. Now you're starting to see the rails starting to taper down, which helps a lot. And you see guys waxing or putting the wax mat on those boards. So it's coming along,
Mm.
to help out with the foilers and that's why most of the guys has been doing it for a couple of years. Most of the boards are all custom made to themselves
Yeah.
by buying it off the rack. So because of the holding that rail, having a confidence on dunk diving, that's where it all starts, right? If you can't dunk dive a wave, that's going to be torture for you. Scary when it's 3, 4 feet.
Mm.
But
Yeah, so I mean, for myself, so like you said, like when you don't have a good session, just get out of the water, which I think that kind of makes sense. And for me, like especially towards the end of the session, like when you get tired, and that's kind of the dangerous part when you get
yeah,
tired and you're making stupid mistakes, that's when you can get hurt easily. But I find like if in the very beginning, sometimes it takes me a little bit to get into that state of mind. And if
mm,
I'm not, sometimes I can just like maybe just sit on my board and just kind of let everything go and breathe and relax and like sometimes I can kind of turn my state of mind um to actually then have a good session, but
right.
it's sometimes challenging to do, and if you can't do that, then yeah, you're better off just going in, and then also, yeah, and then knowing when to quit, like if you've been out there for 2 hours and even though you're still feeling good, it's like if you're making dumb mistakes, and especially on like bigger days or whatever, it's just better to go in and call it a
Oh
day.
yeah.
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 Well,
I
and
mean,
that's hard.
I limit myself for like what, a 2 hour session.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like that's my limit. After that, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't want to go anything over that because I know I'm tired. At that point, I'm exhausted and tired, and I know what can come of it after that. I don't want to get hurt or hurt somebody else. So 2 hour limit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I was just listening to James Casey does like downwinders for like world record downwinders and stuff like that. It's like for all basically all day for 12 hours or something like that. Crazy
Yeah.
stuff. And then there's like a new world record for pumping pumping around in the surf. Uh,
Oh yeah,
I
saw that.
forget what it was, but several hours,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like
And then I
nonstop.
think the flat water was around 23 minute, just flat water pumping or something like that.
I think it's
I mean
longer
that
now. Yeah,
or is
40.
it?
Yeah, but yeah,
48 minutes, I think, or something like that.
yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah, 48 minutes, and
Yeah,
then in the surf,
It's
it's like 2 hours, 40 minutes or something like that. Yeah,
that's so
crazy.
that's
but
so
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and we'll probably see more stuff like that happening.
Oh yeah, and yeah, we haven't scratched the surface yet. That's what
Mm.
we said 3 years ago. But
Yeah.
seeing all the progression and then where wing is taking us, and then obviously the straps, and then Saturday the strap is. I mean, it's insane. So can't
So
wait till next year.
yeah, and I mean, I with the straps, I mean, I understand your reasoning, but I think straps just allow a whole another the realm of possibilities. Like Malaya, like I guess they had that Dukes contest, and they were
Oh,
not supposed to use straps, but they did anyways, and he was doing like backflips on the waves, and you can't do that without straps. But like, yeah, so do you think can you see yourself in the future allowing straps, or is that just something that you
Oh
don't
yeah.
think belongs in with foil surfing?
Oh no, for sure. for the Kauai one, we couldn't because it was a 1-day event. You know, the Maui one, we had the straps category in there, being a 2-day event. So that would be the only reason why we're not having it for the Kauai one. And we'll probably not have it for the Kauai one unless we open up. Depends on how many competitors. And so far, every year has been different. Depends on how many people come out. Because ideally, we wanted the Kauai one. We wanted to make sure that everybody surfs twice. So that's why we took out the straps progression. But for sure, Maui, you know, Tennessee for sure. Yeah, the progression on straps. I mean, you can't take away from the stuff that they're doing nowadays on the straps. So we're not going to take away from that. But yeah, for the Kauai one, mainly reason because it's only a 1-day event for sure.
Yeah.
But,
so, I mean, it sounds like for both of you, like foiling had a big positive impact on your lives, you know, like it's kind of made a big difference. But so my question is like, is there a dark side to it? Like, or like, you know, like, is it, because it is kind of like an addiction. Yeah. You want to go foiling and it's like yeah, but is there like a downside or a dark side to that foiling addiction, or is it just all good?
yeah, I think the word for that is procrastinate, I think is what you call it, or forget everything else because I'm foiling.
Well, it all depends on your bank account too.
That too. Yeah, that too. But fortunately for some people, I mean, we didn't have to worry too much about that. But you know, not spending time with the family and stuff like that, or too busy foiling. Especially this contest, it was very rough. But you know, and then taking off of work, you know, it's a very addicting sport, and it's fun though.
It's like you have to have a good relationship with your wife and with your boss, right? To be able to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So actually, do you have any advice on that? Like people in relationships where you know, I don't know, like my wife used to be kind of more upset when I go out in the water all the time, but now she's more accepting of it. I guess she realizes that it's good for me in a way, you know, or like I'm more relaxed, I guess. But are there any tips on how to handle relationships and family and balancing your life like that so you can do the fun things?
Oh, that's not my category, Pono. That would be all you.
Not me either. I'm single.
You don't have to worry about coming home.
Nope.
It's hard. I mean, I think you need to. It's hard to balance that, but that's for anything, whether it's surfing, work, you know, whatever your desire, your dream is. But just having that the other half understanding of who you are, and the passion that you have. Like we put in a lot of passion into not just the sport. You know, this sport actually helped us. It was just at the beginning of what we do, like Foilers of Aloha, and you know, donating fundraisers. It's because of foiling. I don't think if we got into foiling, I don't think any of this would have happened. It's kind of hard to say because I don't. It all started from foiling. For us, giving back to our community started from foiling. So you know, foiling, you know, it's huge in our life. I mean, the whole foiling side, I kind of like slow down. That you know, that Pono guys take the reign. You know, go and have fun and foil, or we take videos and stuff like that. And but you know, other than that, it's the foiling is what made us do, or it changed our lives in the last about 3-4 years since we've done it in a huge way, not just foiling, you know. But yeah, I think it helped us personal, you know, giving back to the community, and not just us giving back, but having people realize that, oh yeah, we should do this. But yeah, I have to. Foiling definitely did all that.
Yeah,
that's
I think
amazing.
for the most part, it's supporting one another. I think definitely if it wasn't for foiling, we wouldn't have this whole community this whole camaraderie. I mean, this whole hospitality with each and every one of us. I mean, Rob, with you. I mean, with Uncle Derek, Homosaki, just being able to meet everybody, like face to face. Even like Eric, up in Texas, Lance, Captain Steve up in Texas, all those guys, Erica, just being able to meet everybody and like having the same mentality of wanting, instead of needing to give back, we want to give back. Like, because I mean, that's all we have is each other. I mean, none of us could ever do this alone. I mean, I know I wouldn't be able to put on a contest by myself. I mean, it takes a whole lot of hard work and dedication, and it's us as a whole coming together to provide all of this, to give back to our community. I mean, to take care of the Aina that we live on. I mean, it's time that we give back instead of take, you know? So.
Yeah, beautiful. So for people who are listening and want to support you guys, like what can they do, and who do you want to say thanks for their support, you know, like, and how can people help you guys out more?
Well, first, I'd like to say, you know, thanks to the Foil Fever Ohana, you know, Pono's mom, my sister, my mom, you know, my daughters, Meg, everybody. Every year they're always out to support us, which has nothing to do with that because they don't foil, but us giving back to, like, this year was Women's in Need, and Namaka Onauna, you know, giving, you know, equipment for people that, especially for the holidays. I mean, it's well worth it. But if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have done a lot of our work, or none of this would get done without them. Our sponsors, for sure. I mean, you know, Glenn Fang helped us a lot. You've helped us a lot in the last few years. You've been supporting us from the beginning. You and Jeff Jang. So we had to thank you guys. You know, and then Access. You know, the Access is so funny because they came to me and it's like, oh, I want to sponsor the Foil Fever Ohana, and basically we all got sponsored, which is cool because they picked up the whole Ohana, not just one person. So, you know, I have to thank Evan and the crew for that. So I mean,
oh yeah, for sure,
because it's expensive, Rob. You know that.
Yeah.
It's like super expensive. And it changes every single time. So
yeah.
But you know, I like to, and thanks Bono for keeping me on my toes. You know, so it's good though.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I know, like, probably like the entry fees and stuff like that. I mean, it like we've put on some races in the past and stuff like that with Jeff Chang and you know, Wet Feet and Blue Planet, and you know, like, you're lucky if you can cover all your costs, right? So it's not like, you know, sometimes people would think like you're making money off of them because you're charging them an entry fee or something like that, but it's really not like that. Right. It's like a very you're giving a lot of yourself to put on a contest like that, and then a lot of times you don't even get to enjoy it because you're just like working basically the whole time, right?
Right. And that's why I wanted to go slow on Saturday. I was having so much fun. I didn't want to have it stop. And then the day after, I was like, sure, I know the waves are good. I just totally forgot what happened because everything went so fast. And it was positive all day. It was unreal. But,
yeah. It's kind of like I didn't really realize how special that event was until afterwards, you know, like kind of when I was back on Oahu, it's like looking at the footage, it's like this was amazing, you know, like that was really something special, you know. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna talk about on our lessons learned, you know, in a few days. And always the first 15 minutes is like, dude, that was the best contest. And then we start, okay, let's get down to business. What do we need? We're always making sure, and this is what we didn't do this year at the contest. The first year we had a jar in the middle of the stage, and we invited people to put in their comments on how can we make our contests better. And we had a few from 2019 that we did change for this year. So, but I wish we did it again. But I think I think I don't know. I think we were spot on. Everybody, all the staff was spot on their jobs. You know, there's a few lessons learned, but it can only get better, you know, and get bigger. And we want to do a tour. So if any big companies out there want to dish out the money, WSL or somebody, that we would love to do a tour around the state of Hawaii, California, Texas, because we've experienced a lot of different types of not just waves, but waking and wakeboarding and all that stuff too. And even Texas when we went to the cargo. I mean, that's doing a contest out there. The longest wave I think was 23 minutes by Patrick in California, and that was insane.
Wow.
So things like that would be super cool. But we want to take it all around the world for sure. But,
yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, so that's something, like if anyone has connections to a big sponsor,
yeah,
that would be a good way to help you guys out, right? Somebody that can put some money into it, you know. Sure.
yeah.
Actually, Piros was asking, I forgot to ask you guys earlier, like, what are the rules? Can two people be on the same wave? And like, or what, is it just kind of the same as in surfing? Like whoever's closest to the peak has the right of way, or what are the rules on that?
Bono.
Well, main priority is the person closest to the peak. So once he's up and riding, if and then if you have somebody else pumping out, and then somebody else is paddling for that wave, the person paddling for that wave has main priority. But if you're the guy pumping back out and you're far on the shoulder, you can make that turn as long as you're not hindering the guy who's paddling into the wave. If you're not, I mean, that's why we say 20 feet away. We don't want to hinder them so that they fall off the wave because of you. So we call that like a DQ. But if you take that turn and you see that the guy who's paddling for the wave falls, you can go ahead and take that wave. I mean, it's pretty much plain and simple on who has priority and who shouldn't have priority. Because you can pump out, you can just straight pump back out to the next wave. So,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So, anything else you want to add, like about the foiling community, or anything you want to put out there for the people that are still listening? All the people that are still listening now are hardcore foilers, you know, that can't get enough. Like, it was funny that when we were on Kauai after the contest, we were at our Airbnb and they had like a hot tub outside, and we sat in the hot tub like for 4 or 5 hours and just like talking about foiling the whole time. It's like we didn't feel tired or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's like, and those are the kind of people that are still listening. So do you have any message for the hardcore foilers?
thank you guys. I mean, we appreciate you guys supporting and you being just as addicted as we are to foiling. I mean, without you guys, without any of us, I mean, this happiness wouldn't be going around, I think, as a whole community, foil community. So thank you guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, just stay safe out there. Wear a leash. You know, like I always tell everybody, is like my daughters, they're not into foiling. They didn't sign up for foiling, so they don't know the consequences of foiling. So there's no reason why you should come within a surfer or whatever the case may be. As foilers, we know the consequences of foiling, so we want to make sure that we keep in our little space. Like I say, we don't have to pump into the lineups and whatnot. You know, that's why we foil, so we can stay away from everybody else and still have 10 times more fun than I having 4 foot wave, whatever the case would be. But yeah, just stay safe out there, and hopefully we see you guys at the next contest. And we appreciate all the support that everybody is giving us, not just the foilers, but you know, some of the communities, especially on the Kauai. You know, Neomalu Canoe Club for letting us use their hale, but people like that has no nothing to do with foiling, supporting us because they believe on what we're trying to do with the whole Foilers of Aloha movement. So yeah, we appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the competitors coming out. Thank you guys, and yeah, we'll hopefully see you guys at the next one. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason and Pono. And so the best way to find out about what you're up to is like Foil Fever on Instagram, right? Is there any other, do you have a website or anything else that people can check out?
Well, you check out It's Me Pono on Instagram, and then Foil Fever on Instagram and Facebook. And we have it on YouTube as well. But yeah, mostly Instagram. We just gotta keep updated on that. But a lot of guys are like, "Oh yeah, invite me," and or can you set? I had a message the other day. Can you set an alarm for your next contest to call me? I was like, I was super confused. I was super confused. But hopefully you guys, yeah, just listen to what because most of our contests is first come first serve, especially when the days go by and we get more foilers. But to the foilers, just keep that aloha going. I think as foilers we got something good going on. Also with the companies as well. Like Rob, we don't foil for Blue Planet, but you've given us so much in the last 3 years.
Not even. I mean, it's small kind, but yeah. See, like, and I'm one of those guys that doesn't always check Instagram. I try to put a video on YouTube every week, so I'm that keeps me busy. So can only do so much on social media, but so I kind of like, I only found out about your contest through my friend Derek and those guys that were coming over and like, oh, come with us. And I'm like, okay, let's go. But yeah, I didn't even know. So I guess I'm gonna have to monitor your Instagram account more often. But that works too. But did we lose? Looks like we lost Jason, but
his probably computer died or something.
Yeah, probably ran out of battery. Well, we've been talking quite a while, so thanks so much, Pono.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, here's Jason. Let's all say goodbye and see if is he back? Yep. Oh, Jason's coming back online.
Yeah.
Pono said your battery died for this long phone call. But yeah, no worries. So, but yeah, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm sure people are gonna love this show, and we'll talk again hopefully after your next event, and hopefully you'll keep getting blessed by Mother Nature, the Aina, and the waves, and the beautiful people of the foil community. So, thanks so much.
Right on. Hey, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate everything you do for our community as well, and for the Foil Fever. You and Jeff Shane put us on a whole new level as well too. So people like you gives us the opportunity to shine, or gives us the opportunity to do what we want to do. So we would like to thank you and Jeff Chang out there for supporting us as well. So thank you very much, Rob.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks. And have a good night.
Aloha. All right, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Blue Planet Show. As always, I try to leave a little message at the end for those of you, the hardcore viewers who watch all the way to the end. And today I have a quote for you. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So whether it's in foiling or in life, if you want to grow and improve, you have to try things that you're not really comfortable with and keep pushing the limits a little bit. And sometimes you fall flat on your face, like a lot of the competitors in the contest. But that's how you grow. That's how you get better. And you just have to keep getting up and going again. So I hope that works for you. It's always worked for me. And thank you so much for watching again. See you on the water. See you on the next Blue Planet episode. Aloha.